Here we are at day 3, which is the business of divorce. Now, I say this because if we can treat our divorce, our separation process, like making a business decision, and typically with a business, you make it in alignment with the business plan or your vision or your mission. So your vision or your mission, or your vision should be to have well-adjusted, happy children who know that they're loved and supported. And the mission should be able to get through this with as least conflict and turmoil and angst as possible. Now, as far as the Family Law Act is concerned here in Australia, is that it's what's in the best interest of the children. It has nothing to do with the parents. What it has is that the children have the rights, the parents have responsibilities. So I'm sharing this with you because I learned all this when I was studying my family mediation graduate diploma, when we were studying family law. And this is the stuff I want you to know and be aware of, so you're not wasting time getting the same information from your lawyer. Now, here's something else I want you to know, that typically there is no set formula on how everything gets divided up. When it's the business of divorce, you have, as I've mentioned in another video, it's parenting, it's property. Now, property includes finances. And then child support, which is done here through the Department of Human Services, is completely separate. Now, some of you are going to think that the Child Support Act is completely unfair, that it's not enough for a single mum to survive on or support their children and give them the same level of life that they're accustomed to. And some people are only going to pay based on the percentage they see the children. Well, I think all parents should do it as well. They're 50-50 DNA mine, so why aren't I contributing 50-50? It is absolutely bullshit, and excuse my language, but whatever child support is paid goes towards us, to women or the other father as well, to support a better lifestyle. Life is expensive. It goes to bills, it goes towards food, shopping, clothes, all that sort of stuff. But what if you got to write your own rules around how you thought it was in the best interest of your children so that they could have a happily and adjusted life? And maybe according to the ages of your children, that just meant that the mother had more care. Because we are the nurturer, it's inbred in us, and you can't deny that. We're the ones who birth the children. So it is going to make sense and be fair and reasonable that most of the time, young children are with the mother more. Which also means that she can't go and get a full-time job and earn an income like that, because she still wants to be that primary carer role, which is so important when you've got young children. So just want you to have these things in the back of your mind when you're going through the process. Now, what I was saying before about as far as property is concerned, well, as far as the Family Law Act here in Australia is concerned, property is everything including the kitchen sink. It's your assets, it's your liabilities, it's your credit cards, it's everything that's there, it's shares, all that sort of stuff. And yes, your super. So I want you to think about that and know that there is no set algorithm or formula that goes, hey, this is how much you're going to get percentage-wise. Now, I do know a lot of parents who get stuck on percentages. I must get 70%. I must make sure that, hey, I get blah, blah percent. But you can ask Siri what 0 divided by 0 is, and you'll learn that if there's nothing left in the equity, in the equity pool or whatever, there's nothing left. And that means your children are going to suffer. And people who suffer from a high conflict divorce as well won't be able to function at work, because this is a time when everything gets divided, everything goes through with a fine-tooth comb. But does it really need to be like that? So you can add up all your assets, add up all your liabilities, and then take in whatever you're left with. That is the figure that we work out how a property settlement gets divided. But you don't necessarily need to divide and conquer while you're at it. And I'm fairly confident that things were quite similar around the world. It does take into a fact of, well, how long has the relationship been? How long's the marriage? Is it a short term, only a couple of years, or long term? Who brought what into the relationship? You know, what's the potential to earn after? What did you contribute financially during the relationship? And what about those non-financial contributions? Because I'm curious, if you went and did an exercise and looked at what it would be like to have a full-time nanny to look after your children, you'll get the figure of an approximate dollar figure of what, I guess, the role of a mother, because sometimes we do feel a little bit unappreciated for what we do because we certainly don't get paid for it. And maybe if we did, then things might be different when people are considering this part of their life as the value that is being provided for being a homemaker, a mother, whatever the role is you've played. Your super gets divided 50-50. So you do need to be aware of these things and make decisions in the best interest of your children. Now, a parenting plan, when you're discussing it, is not legally binding. To have it legally binding is to have a consent order which is lodged with the courts. And when you've finalised your property and all that sort of thing, you can then consider getting a binding financial agreement or lodging consent orders while you're at it with the court. You can do this yourself, and you can ask. Certain mediators will do it. Otherwise, you have to get your lawyer to do it. And all these costs add up. But sometimes we have to think, what's the real cost of this divorce? Is my emotional health and turmoil worth it? Where are you making these decisions from? From a place of love and trust, or fear and doubt, uncertainty, all those things. When you are educated and informed about your choices, then you can make much better decisions through the process. And I know most of this stuff does apply to us here in Australia because I can legally give this information in my country. However, I wonder, wherever you're watching this, how it does apply to you and what your rights and entitlements are as well. And I know from speaking to many lawyers that that's the first question a lot of people do ask them is, well, what am I entitled to and how can I win against my other partner? And you need to be aware that this is somebody you did love and trust once. And I know right now maybe that's not there anymore. And that's okay. But I wonder if you both did some healing work, some emotional stuff on how you could get through this and provide a really good example of how family can expand and look differently that way. How they can have more love in their life when the parents actually do live separately. So this is my little segment on the business of divorce. Yes, going in, making decisions in the best interest of your children. Maybe it's right now. Maybe it's only a parenting plan you need for 3 months, 6 months, 3 years. And then you've got teenagers, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. And the law does listen to children as soon as they turn 12 a lot more about what they want and what they need. What parents must not do is share what's going on with their kids because it's not fair. And parents do need to be aware that it's their conflict, their behaviour that affects the children more than what an actual separation and divorce does. And the research is there by Jen McIntosh, who's one of the leading family mediators and researchers in this space in this country. The facts are there that your children are 17% more likely to suffer from a mental health challenge, from poor education, from relationship issues. They may then resort to crime, to drugs, who knows, depending on what their ages are. Because they're exposed to family conflict, because parents involve them in the middle of all this and said stuff that those young brains, those innocent brains don't need to deal with. So I do urge you to have someone help you through this process. Somebody who does know what they're doing, who's not adding to the conflict and escalating things. So this is the business of divorce. And it's straight up and it's raw and real so that you don't get any nasty surprises down the track. And I know that sometimes if you are divorcing somebody with mental health challenges or narcissistic personality traits or even bipolar or borderline, issues or unresolved childhood traumas, sometimes that can be a lot more challenging. So you do need to tread lightly and be kind, be compassionate as well. It might be hard, but I wonder if it'll be worth it. I'll see you on the next video.